Let me ask you a question before we get into any of this. If your advisor told you your retirement plan had a 90% chance of success, what would you think? Now, most people feel pretty good about 90%. Doesn't it sound like a strong grade? Doesn't it sound like permission to relax? But let me ask you the question that's hiding underneath it. 90% chance of what exactly? Look, I want to show you what that number is really measuring, because I don't think it's what you think it is. Now picture this. You fly into a city you've never been to. You rent a car and you type your hotel's address into the app. And instead of directions, the app says you have a 90% chance of arriving on time. How would you react? You'd be frustrated, wouldn't you? You'd say, that's not what I asked for. I don't want a score. I want directions. Turn left at the light. Get in the right lane. Can you feel the difference between a score and advice? A probability of success is a score. It tells you the odds. Does it ever tell you what to actually do? No, it doesn't. Now here's where it gets serious. In that planning software, the word success has one meaning and only one. Now what do you think that measure of success is? It means you didn't run out of money before you died. That's it. That is the whole test. And ask yourself, what's the surest way to pass that test? Spend as little as humanly possible. The less you spend, the higher your score climbs. Follow that all the way to the end, and what do you get? A 100% chance of success is also a 100% chance of underspending. To hit that perfect score, you would have to plan your whole life around the single worst market in history. Read that back. Think about that. If that's what the number rewards, are those probability scores really measuring success, or are they measuring regret? Now let me show you that the famous 4% rule, that it has the same exact flaw built right in. So where do you think that number even came from? So someone went back through history and asked one question. What's the least a retiree could have safely spent in the worst stretch we've ever seen? That's the 4%. It's a worst case number. And there's nothing wrong with knowing your worst case. But what happens when you build your entire retirement around that? If you plan your life at the worst case number, haven't you decided to underspend from the very first day in every year that isn't the worst case, which is almost all of them? Now let me give you one more picture of how strange these outputs can be. I've seen a plan run the numbers and come back saying the client's money would end somewhere between a few $100,000 and hundreds of millions of dollars. Think about that range. Is that a plan? Or is that a machine politely telling you it's got no idea what's going to happen? Would you make the biggest decisions of your retirement off a range that wide? Now, being straight with you, the industry knows the 4% rule is clumsy, and some planners have moved to something better called Guardrails. And the idea is pretty simple. If your accounts fall below a certain line, you cut your spending for a while. If they rise past another line, you're allowed to spend more. And that's better than the old rule, but look at what it still asks of you. A guardrail plan is a decision engine. Ultimately, who has to run that engine? Doesn't that mean you do? It requires you, the retiree, to correctly evaluate a recommendation to cut your own spending and to do it every single year for the rest of your life. Now picture that at age 85. Picture it in the first year after losing your spouse in the fog that you're likely experiencing. Isn't that the same stack of decisions a portfolio plan always demands? What do I sell? When do I sell it? How much do I take? Is this the dip that matters, or do I ride it out? When does that kind of sharp judgment get harder to come by for you? Later in life, doesn't it? So these strategies lean hardest on judgment at the exact age it's hardest to summon. And here's the human cost inside the math. Most of these guardrail approaches aim you at something like the 20th percentile of spending. Now turn that around. If you're aimed at the 20th percentile, how often could you have safely spent more? 80% of the time. Now, what would that mean? More trips, more time with the grandkids, more of the life you actually saved for? A pay cut in retirement is never just a number on a dashboard. What is it really? It's the trip you don't take. It's the year you don't go visit family. It's the promise you make to yourself, oh, I'll do it next year, until next year runs out. That software will manage the pay cut for you. Right? But let me interject a question that I don't think is asked enough in retirement planning. If you were forced to reduce spending or felt you had to cut back spending in retirement for whatever reason, would you consider that a successful retirement? Or what if the pay cut didn't have to happen in the first place? Did you know there's another way to build this? Now let me show you the other way. It starts with the right amount of protected lifetime income. Now before we talk about any of the rest of your money, right? We build an income floor, a floor size to cover your essentials and your non-negotiables that arrives every month for as long as you live and asks nothing of you. Those non-negotiables are the adventures, experiences, and memories with loved ones that make life worth living. Now think about a retirement with no withdrawal rate to pick, no market to watch, no yearly decision to get right, no software asking a 78-year-old to please cut back on the things that will make life worth living. Now above that floor, what are your remaining savings finally free to do? Grow and be there for the surprises and the extras and the legacy. But the foundation doesn't depend on you making a perfect call in a bad year. Now, let me leave you with a crucial question. It was never, what's the highest score I can get? The real question is this. Do you define a successful retirement as one where you're forced to cut back or even feel like you have to cut back spending on the life that you worked up to 40 years or more for? For most people, once they see it that way, the answer is obvious. And building a plan that doesn't put you there is exactly the work that we do together. If you'd like to talk about this more, we've got some links in the post in the content below.